Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. In this video is to bring you a closer look at the DKS part number OBSTRK-LH. This is an open back strike is what it is. I have one removed from the packaging, and it appears to be a piece of cast material. They say that the finish is 32D. That would mean that this is stainless steel. So cast stainless steel is what we're looking at here. Now, an open back strike is a fairly specialized piece of equipment that you only see in one type of application generally. And, you know, if you're the unsuspecting public, you would never take notice of it. But to people who make a living in commercial door hardware, it's quite the event when you see such an unusual animal out in the wild, so to speak. So this strike has a super unusual preparation to it, and maybe your first reaction is that it appears to be an incredibly insecure strike. And that for sure would be an understandable conclusion to come to. An open back strike is used in a pair of doors. It is used when you have a locking device, or a latching device, I should say, on the active door, and certainly on the inactive door as well, except that those latching devices are different. So the common application that you're going to have for this type of strike is going to be, here's the most common application. Pair of doors, you have a mortise exit device on the active door. You have on the inactive door a surface vertical rod device. Very typical, very common. The mortise device secures itself to the edge of the inactive door by way of the open back strike. The open back strike secures itself top and bottom. The inactive door with the open back strike secures itself top and bottom with the surface vertical rods. Now how this works is, and by the way, before we go any further, the hand of the open back strike is termed under the context of the hand of the door that is latching to it. So if you ordered a mortise style exit device and you wanted an open back strike for that application, and let's say that that door was a right hand reverse, you would certainly need a left hand strike for that application. Okay, you could order it right hand reverse, and that would be the proper way to call it, but when it comes to you, it's going to be a left hand is how DKS is going to call that. So let's see here now. You are going to be on the egress side. You're on the push side. This is the inactive door over here. Your mortise exit device is going to be here, and you're going to push the exit device open so that it opens. Okay. If you were to then, while the active door is ajar, hit the bar on the inactive door, it will then open. You've got two doors that are going to open. Okay. You've got two doors that are going to open. So your active door and then your inactive door. Now you would be able to operate either door independently of each other when using this strike, and you can have either door, let's get this right. You would then be able to have either door latch itself independently because of the open back nature of the unit. So if this hand is the mortise exit device, I could independently hit the inactive door, and that'll close, and that will absolutely just open. When that door closes, the latch is just going to make contact with the inside face of the strike. When I hit the active door, it will open, and then it will also be able to latch and close shut. An open back strike allows you to avoid coordinators. I don't see why you wouldn't have a similar application with auto flush bolts. Okay, you should be able to have that same situation with auto flush bolts. Obviously door closers on both doors. because you're going to need to get that inactive door in the closed position and then secured. Otherwise, it's just, unsecured. But that's where an open back strike is used, so that either door can be hit, and really more importantly, the way that I first learned about open back strikes is that that inactive door can come into the closing cycle if the active door is held and is just not used at all. Okay, so that's how that would work, and they're very typically used in those scenarios. So the question that you might have to yourself is, well, okay, why not just use 2 surface vertical rods? You're right. Why not? Why not just use 2 surface vertical rods? There may very likely be a reason that you would want a mortise case device. It might be the specification demanded by the end user through the architect or through the engineer, that mortise cases are to be used in those instances. You want all mortise exit devices on the job, period. However, you've got these pairs of doors. What are you going to do? Occupancy code demands exit device hardware to be equipped on both doors because the load of the people in the building demand a certain quantity of people that will be able to go through the opening. Exit devices would be required based on a formula that is actually in NFPA 101. It may be in NFPA 80 as well. I don't recall. Quantity of people, you derive how much clear opening you need, and then you suit the quantity of doors to how much clear opening space that you have to provide in order to provide safe egress. So exit devices on both doors. You want mortise locks everywhere, but except in those instances of pairs of doors. So that could be where you would use it. Let's take some dimensional properties of the item. Overall height, you're going to find that that's 4 7/8, a typical commercial preparation in terms of its size. The overall width of the strike up top is 1 1/4, and that's typical and common. The overall width, that's where that 1 3/4 door thickness is going to come into play. So your latch is going to be making contact right with that face of that. I would like if that had a little beveled edge to it. There, it's already a handed strike, so why not, give it a little more elegant prep? Although, you're not going to interfere with any sort of astragal that you wouldn't have an astragal on this type of door, but you wouldn't have any sort of projecting hardware. This ramp is what is to be applied, or this ramp is what will work in conjunction with your auxiliary dead latch, which will reside here so that it locks the latch bolt itself. Okay, not any sort of problem there at all. It's going to come with a couple of screws. These are all wrong. These are, maybe they're not. Stand by one moment. When I initially looked at the screw, I initially thought, oh, that looks too small. That is indeed a 1224 thread, so that will fit into a hollow metal frame. Now, be mindful that, and this is very likely a quite substantial problem. I do not see that this is listed or labeled. I know that it's not labeled. Being a certified fire door and egress assembly inspector, this is not, according to the manufacturer, at all listed for use on fire doors. So be absolutely mindful when you are selecting this equipment that it is not marketed as such. So be mindful. The bottom line is this would not be appropriate for use on a fire-rated door. If under the duress of a fire door audit you had to prove that this was listed, you would not be able to. There's nothing that says that this piece of cast stainless, if that is indeed what this is, would fail a 3-hour fire test. It just hasn't been tested. So we can't represent it as such, obviously. So unusual, strike for unusual applications, but in those applications, it is the perfect solution. If you have any questions on the DKS, OBSTRK in a left hand, and obviously a right hand version as well, that can all be purchased. There is a link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the DKS products that we sell, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. What DKS does is they are an importer of hollow metal doors and frames. They have likely thousands of doors in stock at all times. They have a very capable shop in California. They are not shearing and bending their own frames, is my understanding. That all comes from overseas, but they move a lot of product. It's a decent quality product for competing in the realm of imported steel doors and frames. I would not hesitate to consider them on those projects where you could use an item that you won't see in specifications. They do have, here in Florida, they do have Florida listings on products that you'd be able to use in those hurricane type code required applications. I've done so successfully in the past. Good quality people, good decent lead times. Because they're an importer, they're bringing over containers of material. So what you'll find is they either have 400 of what you need and you only need 12, or they're really out of lead time. They're really out on stock and the lead time is long, but that rarely happens in all fairness to DKS, certainly. Any questions on their open back strike or any other DKS product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.